Night.
This is Sunday Night Safran, John Safran. This is a pre-record, and Paul Thomas Anderson, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Director of The Master. People might also know you as director of Punch Drunk Love, Magnolia, Boogie Nights, so pretty famous. But the first disappointing thing is that usually there's a priest for these interviews, Father Bob Maguire, not here. But you told me that doesn't matter because you actually are a minister yourself.
I'm an ordained minister.
Really?
Yeah.
How does that work?
You can do it online, where I come from at least. You can do it online. I have to admit, my sister did it for me because she was getting married and she wanted me to marry her. So she signed me up. I'm part of Rose Ministries out of Las Vegas, Nevada.
And is that a particular denomination? Is that like Christian, or is it ecumenical, or what is it?
It's Vegas.
I'm not sure how easy it is to be a minister in Australia. I think you can get you can get anything off the internet. I actually interviewed last year an Insane Clown Posse Juggalo priest, because there's a church of Juggalos. And they're that rap group, and the people who join that as ministers are serious. They're not like taking the mickey or whatever.
Right.
It's like we're going to meld up, Christianity or spirituality with, that rap band, the Insane Clown Posse, and the teachings they have. So, very
That's
open.
cool. That's cool.
And I guess this kind of feeds in a bit to The Master, because I saw it last night in 70 millimetres. Apparently there's only one 70mm cinema in Melbourne.
Unfortunately, I think that's the case.
and
There's one in Sydney, yeah.
And that's it.
I know, it's sad. Unfortunately, places get encouraged to throw stuff away, which I'm terrible at throwing things away. I'm a pack rat. I collect everything. And it doesn't make any sense. If you go in these projection booths at these movie theaters, they're small, but they didn't have to throw them away, but they did. It's a drag, but the good places hold on to them, and we made a film that was shot and meant to be seen that way. But then again, it's not the end of the world if you don't see it that way either. It's just a little extra.
And what about all this new stuff, like this creep of digital, which apparently regular people like me, we don't even know about, but sort of like, under our very noses over the last decade, things are getting replaced.
They are, and it shouldn't, and, for, as you say, regular people like yourself, it shouldn't matter. It's kind of like a good movie is a good movie, whether you see it, on your phone or a TV like that or in 70 millimeter. It doesn't much matter at the end of the day. But if you're into this kind of stuff and you get real nerdy like I do, there's good stuff and there's bad stuff underfoot, and that's okay. It's like anything. It's got to move and stay alive, and yeah, it's okay.
Because I guess whenever you hear about like the entrepreneurs in the past, in the olden days, they were always like mad people trying to advance the technology. So I guess there's still mad people trying to advance the technology.
Yeah, they're trying to advance the technology, and that's okay. Sometimes things are just fine how they were. How much better than best can something get? But I guess there's always better somehow.
Now, you'd know this, obviously being a director, but my friend told me that the sound equipment that people use on major Hollywood films, like some of the recording is like no different from what it was, decades and decades and decades and decades ago, from how they actually capture it. Oh, thanks a lot, Craig Melville, for making me look like a jerk in front of Paul Thomas Anderson.
I don't know what he's talking. I mean, listen, here's what's the same is that there's a microphone, sound goes in, sound gets put onto something, sound comes back out again. I mean, it hasn't changed that much, but it's harder and harder. I mean, I know bands and people that can't record on tape anymore, and they don't make it anymore. They're still making film, so we can still do it that way. It's funny, like in this day and age, everybody's got to take a picture with their digital camera and then they press a button to make it look like it was film, Well,
I've noticed with that Instagram thing where you put a filter on it, like when I've been overseas and there's been something amazing, I'm doing everything I can to take all the filters off because I don't want to kind of affect it in any way. And it's usually if something's a bit sort of, not as magical that I'm trying to trick it up with the filters.
But I think you're in the minority. I think what I see lately is people really trying to mess it up and make it look more like film and less perfect, which is so funny. When those cameras first came out, I was like, look how clear it is. Oh my God, they're so excited. Now they've kind of grown tired of that, and they're trying to find a way to mess it up and make it look like they're old photographs of them as children, because we get nostalgic for that thing that we can hold in our hand and the way a photograph fades, and they feel good that way. I think they feel good because it means they're alive and they're aging. And some of these photographs that we take with these digital cameras, sometimes they just feel kind of dull, kind of boring.
Now, in The Master, Freddie Quell, the main character, or one of the two main characters, he's leaves the war, and he's, you don't exactly spell out exactly what happened in the war to him, but he seems to have been drawn to this spiritual quest, or this cult, if you want to be negative, that seems to be a proxy for Scientology because of bad experiences that happened in the war. Is that story like a bigger story in that, like, a lot of people in your reading, you saw that because they went through World War II, they were drawn to these things afterwards?
It wasn't a big thing. I mean, I definitely have stories I could point to that I read of fellas that were in the war who were hungry for some spiritual questions and spiritual answers and would get involved in movements. And but they're in the minority, I think. I don't think this character, Freddie, unless he hadn't literally stumbled across this boat and ended up where he ended up, he wouldn't have spent 2 seconds with it, just not that kind of fella. So through a series of events, here he is, sort of somebody who seemingly has no interest in their spirituality. Turns out probably does, if asked the right questions, or, is sort of wrestling with enough stuff, whether it's from the war or before the war, it doesn't quite matter, but he's definitely hungry for some answers, and probably just sort of not willing, sort of led a life where he's not even willing to deal with it, just would rather get drunk, booze, black out.
And obviously all the themes in the film, because so much is universal, you could have told it different ways. Why did you choose to do something that so strikingly is a character that everyone's going to think is L. Ron Hubbard from the Church of Scientology, is the one that this guy from the war bumps into?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's so well known that everybody's going to feel that way. I think people that are kind of in the know or have some awareness of Hubbard will see a lot of the parallels and similarities. Ultimately, just kind of throw that stuff out the window and sort of be inspired by stuff and tell your own story, and make something that's, that's its own freestanding thing.
But did you feel like when you're putting that in the film, it was a bit playing with fire, either in an exciting way or not necessarily in a negative way? Because there's sort of like no way you can put someone, based that a lot of people are going to think is based on L. Ron Hubbard and not have, blowback.
No, not really. I mean, no.
I can't figure out whether you're going to say something.
I think I was going to say something, but my mind just farted. So.
And
I know where you're coming from, though. I'm not trying to dodge it. I get you. I hear you, but I just never really felt that way. I mean, I feel like it's kind of like I was hearing somebody talk about, where was this? Somebody was talking about these Rothko paintings and how people of a certain age would walk through and all they could see was how he'd killed himself, and it affected what they were looking at. And he was saying that he would see these school kids walk through and they were just saying, wow, look at these colors. This is amazing. They weren't bringing that to it. And do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's
sure.
It's just kind of that feeling like all that stuff has to kind of go away. You sort of take a long view, I guess.
And why in the film I felt you hint a lot at Freddie's past, and again we don't exactly know what screwed him up.
I mean,
but with the Lancaster character, you don't. Who's the kind of the proxy, spiritual leader, cult leader character. We don't really understand why he's arrived there.
Why Dot is who he is,
Yes.
how he got there. Well, you can't in a 2-hour film do so much of that, and you have to kind of rely on the fact that you just can take one look at Phil Hoffman playing this part and kind of just you either get it and go with it, or or if you're unfortunately hungering to wonder, well, how did he get here? Hopefully it's not too distracting.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's not hanging you up from enjoying the film. It's like with, Freddie, Joaquin, one look at his face and I think it says it all. You can kind of see something's going on here. And whether you get all the answers or not, it shouldn't quite matter, what are the details of how this happened? Don't really matter, but here we are, and he mentioned some stuff that's going on with him. I think it gives you enough understanding to sort of see that he's troubled. He's seen things that most people haven't. Got himself into a position most people aren't in.
And you said last night at the Q&A that you felt that the Lancaster character was sincere to himself. So regardless of whether his beliefs were true or not true, he actually sincerely believed them himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Did you feel that way? Did you?